Nicu Popescu, welcome to Conflict Zone. Do you believe that Moldova is Putin's next target?
Today, Moldova is safe. Moldova does not face military threats, and that is thanks to Ukraine, thanks to the Ukrainian army, the Ukrainian state, and the Ukrainian society, which is resisting. They are defending themselves, and by doing so, they also defend Moldova from war, from bombs, from Russia. Ukraine is fighting, of course, for itself, but by doing that, they keep the front line away from us. At the same time, looking into the future, I'm confident Moldova will continue to be safe. We are committed to making sure peace is guarded on our territory, and we're not alone in this. Romania is standing closely and strongly by us. The Romanian president has said on a number of occasions that no matter what, Moldova will not be abandoned on the full spectrum of threats, and we know the rest of the countries of Europe also stand by us, and the summit of the European political community is also one of the ways in which the whole continent supports Moldova.
But what if the direction of the war should change and Ukraine should start losing, or Ukraine should be forced to cede huge amounts of its territory to Russia? What then for Moldova?
We cannot speculate about what will happen. What we can do as a government is to
But you have to plan for it,
Yes,
don't
of
you?
course. We've been planning for the full spectrum of threats as a country, as a society. But we also know that the international community is standing by Ukraine. Ukraine is strong, and that provides a sense of security to Moldova as well. But as I said, on the full spectrum of threats, we're also working to strengthen our state, to strengthen our security and defense capabilities, and to strengthen the network of international arrangements and commitments that are strengthening our country.
You want to join NATO?
We are deepening our security and defense cooperation with the European Union, with the member states of the European Union and NATO, and yes, we are expanding our cooperation with NATO as an organization. At the same time, our constitution provides and mentions that our country is neutral, but that's not an impediment for us deepening significantly all those partnerships that will help us guard peace, stability, and calm in our country.
Nevertheless, if Russia decides one day, for whatever reason, either it's won the war or it's lost the war, that Moldova is a comparatively easy target, you could find Russian troops coming over the border in large numbers, couldn't you? And none of what you've told me so far could stop it, could it?
Clearly, we live in a dangerous zone, in a dangerous part of Europe. We live at a dangerous time, but we are not alone. We have friends, we have partners. We have, as I said, Romania, we have the European Union and plenty of other countries which are standing by us on our territory. We have been working to expand our cooperation with Frontex. The European Union will launch a CSDP mission. We're strengthening our capabilities, and we are working together with our partners that such negative scenarios as the one you mentioned never become a reality.
In your heart of hearts, given the great question marks that are hanging over the region, do you think that you'll actually get to the EU, to full membership of the EU? You could be out of power. Your government could be out of power in 2 years. It hasn't been particularly popular in the last 6 months.
Absolutely, we will get into the European Union, and support for EU membership for Moldova is overwhelming in this country. It has been overwhelming. For the last 30 years, the people of Moldova have proved time and again that they want to live in a democratic country, in a free country, and they want to continue the path.
They live in a country with a breakaway region, Transnistria.
Yes, there's a separatist region.
17,000, is it? 1,700 Russian troops are stationed
there. There's a separatist region, there's an unsolved conflict in the Transnistrian region, but the overwhelming majority of the citizens of Moldova want us to bring our country into the European Union, and we will succeed. And that's not something that just is a snapshot of today. Over the last 30 years, our society time and again voted for pro-European forces, voted for forces that want democracy for this country and freedom for this country. And I'll tell you even more, even that minority, and according to opinion polls, only about 20% of our population would rather cooperate and integrate with Eurasian structures, even those 20% want to live in a country that is democratic, in a country that is peaceful, and in a country where their opinion is respected, and no matter what political or geopolitical preferences they have, all of these differences are managed in a democratic way, and we have proved for 30 years that we can manage our differences peacefully in a democratic manner, and everyone in Moldova is united in continuing this route. And even those who don't necessarily want to join the European Union, don't want to be beaten up by the police of autocratic regimes, they don't want to be living under bombs, under cruise missiles, under drones. They all want to live in peace, calm, democracy and security, and only the European Union can provide them that. And we're explaining them, and I'm assuring you we will make it into the European Union with overwhelming support.
And
As for support
you,
for our government, we're standing between 35 and 40% of support. That's a very respectable degree of support 2 years into a political
but it's shaky.
mandate.
Poverty and unemployment. Poverty and unemployment.
Up to 40%
counting.
support. Almost 40% support. After 30% inflation last year, after energy crisis, gas crisis, electricity crisis, refugee crisis, all of that caused and aggravated by Russia's brutal aggression against Ukraine, our support for our government is large, is significant, it's overwhelming, despite the negative effects of Russia's war against Ukraine and Russia's attempts to destabilize Moldova.
The last president, Igor Dodon, with his pro-Russian sympathies, has been charged with serious crimes. Those charges have been on the books for a year now. It's starting to look like political persecution, that's his view. If your prosecutors didn't have enough evidence to take these charges to court, they shouldn't have arrested him, should they?
Well, first of all, prosecution and the justice sector is supposed to be independent. We have been building up independence for our judicial sector, and it's not right.
Is this
for
independence or incompetence?
No, it's not right for a government to comment on individual cases. I will tell you nonetheless that former President Dodon is being filmed taking a bag from an oligarch, and they talk about the fact that there is money in that bag. So there's enough in the public domain which looks like a serious pieces of facts and information that make it not credible, the allegations that this is political persecution. Second, our justice sector has been making progress towards a cleaner justice system, towards a faster and more fair justice system. So just in the last couple of months, after many months of work, we have finally created through a pre-vetting system, we have the judges have assembled the Superior Council of Magistrates. The Chisinau airport, which was under the effective control of an oligarch until 2 months ago, has now been returned to the management by the state. And again, one of his oligarchs, Shor, has been finally convicted by our courts to 15 years in prison for high-level corruption. So
he's in Israel. He's a fugitive.
He's in Israel, but there's clear progress in the Moldovan justice system. A lot of work remains to be done, but progress is there, and that's these are real-life changes on the ground in the way our society and our justice system works.
But you have to admit that the optics of this case don't look good, do they, for the state? People are entitled to timely justice,
The optics of this case are so obvious for everyone in Moldova, but of course I will tell you that on lots of highly reputable, respected international observers, the progress in Moldova is confirmed and attested. So, for example, according to the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index, Moldova's place in the international ranking on corruption perception has improved by 24 places in the last 2 years. On Reporters Without Borders Freedom of the Media Index, we jumped from 89th to the 28th place in the world. So there's multiple international assessments which clearly state Moldova is moving into the right direction. This move and progress is credible, is systematic when it comes to consolidation of democracy, fight against corruption. And yes, we have to do much more work, and we are committed to getting the job done and bringing our country into the EU through reforms on a merit-based accession process.
Prime Minister, manoeuvrings are underway among leading countries to try and map out an ending for the war in Ukraine. Are you part of this consultation?
We are part of multiple conversations about regional security, Moldova's place in Europe, but I would not call this maneuvering. All of the conversations about the future of Europe take place in multiple formats. We'll have also the meeting of the European political community here in Moldova. I'm sure the future of the continent will be a central topic of this gathering. But this is not maneuvering, that's a serious strategic conversation where the continent is united in its desire to bring peace back to Europe, to bring the respect for international law back to Europe, and to dissuade the type of aggressions that Russia launched against Ukraine last year.
You say that, but among all the expressions of support for Kyiv and for you, there is in certain quarters, not least in the US, a drumbeat of concern that this war is becoming just too costly, too disruptive, too much for everyone. Do you hear those comments?
Well, of course, we are looking at the debate in multiple countries, including in the United States. It's quite natural for democratic societies and democratic political systems to have politicians who express different views. What is also clear is that time and again, when given the chance, when after signing ceasefires, after signing documents recognizing the territorial integrity of countries like Ukraine, of countries like Georgia, of countries like Moldova, Russia has not ceased its hostile policies towards these countries. It has launched this large-scale aggression against Ukraine, the biggest aggression since Second World War, the biggest war after Second World War. And of course, I can tell you that without a clear commitment to seeing Ukraine liberate its territories, without a clear commitment to helping and making Ukraine strong, we cannot talk about the return of sustainable peace onto the European continent, no matter what conversations different countries or politicians have.
How confident would you be of the war in Ukraine if Donald Trump were re-elected to the White House next year with his cozy relationship with Vladimir Putin and his desire, he said, to end the war within 24 hours? How confident would you be of that?
Well, there's multiple states are in a constant
But America is key.
process.
America is key
America
to the
is
whole
absolutely
thing.
key, and what happens in Eastern Europe is of crucial importance for the security of the United States, of NATO.
He doesn't know that. He doesn't know that.
Well, we also have in the United States a political system that works, a degree of strategic calculation and understanding regarding Eastern Europe, regarding the Pacific, which clearly shows that the US has to stay committed. A weakening of any type of support for Ukraine is likely to have negative repercussions, not just for peace in Europe, not just for our continent, but also for the United States and for multiple processes that are also happening in the Asia-Pacific region, since we all know that this is interlinked.
And that's your nightmare scenario.
Well, having aggression,
that's your nightmare scenario.
Well, having aggression succeed in Eastern Europe will will drive up and will increase the risks of aggression everywhere else in the world, and will hit, affect and undermine American and European interests everywhere.
Nicu Popescu, thank you very much.
Thank you.